What makes you sad? What are some things that have happened in your life that have really made you sad? What are the things happening now that are making you sad? Today's topic in the language of letting go is on sadness. I have not read it. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Daisy Daniel. I'm a personal resilience life coach, Christian faith-based. And every Monday and Thursday I read a reflection from this book. It's impromptu. I never know what I'm going to read. I only know the title. And today it's on sadness. And this is an emotion that all of us have experienced at one time or another, or are experiencing. And I'm sure that if you stop and think, you could remember instances where you were very sad, very sad. Let's see what Melody Beattie brings to us today in her short reflection on sadness. We are on page 135. Let's begin. Sadness. Ultimately, to grieve our losses means to surrender to our feelings. So many of us have lost so much, have said so many goodbyes, have been through so many changes. We may not want to hold back the tides of change, not because the change isn't good, but because we have had so much change, so much loss. Sometimes when we are in the midst of pain and grief, we become short-sighted, like members of a tribe described in the movie Out of Africa. If you put them in prison, one character said, describing this tribe, they die. Why? Asked another character. Because they can't grasp the idea that they'll be let out one day. They think it's permanent, so they die. Many of us have so much grief to get through. Sometimes we begin to believe grief or pain is a permanent condition. The pain will stop. Once felt and released, our feelings will bring us to a better place than where we started. That is very loud. I am in sunny Florida, and if you could be here, you could see how sunny it is outside. But yet, far in the distance, there is some thunder. So I am at a local park, and they do that to warn everyone here that it might rain. But that is why I chose a nice pavilion, so we are safe. Feeling our feelings instead of denying or minimizing them is how we heal from the past and move forward into a better future. Feeling our feelings is how we let go. It may hurt for a moment, but peace and acceptance are on the other side. So is a new beginning. And here's her prayer at the end. God, help me fully embrace and finish my endings, so I may be ready for my new beginnings. All right, that was beautiful. This book is entitled The Language of Letting Go. And so many of our situations and our problems are out of our control. We cannot control them, and we have to learn to let go. If you are a codependent, if you have any addiction, you have to learn to let go of those things. And the steps she's sharing with us here are good. So let's go back and read them and kind of expand on them. Sadness. She begins by saying, ultimately, to grieve our losses means to surrender our feelings. To grieve our losses means to surrender our feelings. What are losses? Death, losing your employment like so many people have, starting this past March because of COVID-19, losing a child. I would say divorce feels like death, divorce and separation, because that was never God's plan for you to join in a contract with another human being and have them hurt you so bad that you end up separated and divorced. What's another loss? You could lose your children through parental alienation, which is a form of abuse. You could lose your health. You could wake up one day where things just aren't working like they used to, and you have to go get checked for all kinds of things. I'm getting checked for some things, things that are not going right in my body. And that could be because of sadness too. So many of the autoimmune diseases they're finding have a connection between physical and mental health and trauma. All right, so to grieve our loss means to surrender our feelings. That means we have to surrender how we feel about all these situations I just mentioned, and there's many more. We could be here all day listing things that would make us sad. But we need to surrender our feelings. That means when those feelings come up, not to deny them, not to push them down, not to negate them and say, oh, that's in the past. Don't think about that. That's in the past. God tells us to forget the past and start anew. Yes, he does. But he also had the Israelites and all kind of people in the Bible leave memorials in certain locations where God did miracles for you to never forget and your children to never forget those situations. So when he says forget the past, he doesn't mean you don't remember it anymore. It just means you don't dwell on it. You're not dwelling on it. If you're dwelling on it, that's not good. If you're looking at your past to heal and to move forward, that's different. She goes on to say, so many of us have lost so much, have said so many goodbyes. Oh my goodness, so true. I would say probably one of the saddest things that a mom or dad could go through is saying goodbye to their children. Not because they're leaving them, but because their children are leaving them through parental alienation. And their minds get so distorted and so screwed up by the abusive parent that they want nothing to do with the other parent. And it is a very sad goodbye because there's never any closure. The children are alive, yet they don't contact you. They have no relationship with you. You have no idea what's going on in their life. They never call you for advice. They never reach out. You're practically dead in their eyes. That's a goodbye. How about saying goodbye to dysfunctional relationships? How painful is that? That's sad. Parents that are dysfunctional, siblings that are abusive and dysfunctional, and you have to say goodbye because, frankly, if you're going to heal, you have to take steps forward, and they're not taking steps forward. They're either staying still or going backwards. And really, it's hard to stay still. Life is continually moving, so you're either going backwards or forwards. You're not really staying still. If you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. You have been through so many changes. We may want to hold back the tides of change, not because the change isn't good, but because we have had so much change, so much loss. Sometimes, we just give up. We're like, I keep trying to mend this relationship. I keep trying to fix it. I keep trying. I ask for forgiveness. I go to counseling. I send them presents. I do all the 5 languages, quality time, acts of service, physical touch, words of encouragement. Nothing works. Doesn't matter what you do. You know why? You have to let go of that. You have to let go of that. Let things happen organically. Let things happen naturally. And if they don't, okay, maybe they're not meant to happen. Maybe those people are not meant to be in your life. It's okay. I know when you're a codependent, that's not okay, because your job is to help everybody and fix everybody. I'm a life coach, and I love to help people and help them stop the fights in their life. But I recognize and I know that there are people I'm going to counsel that are not going to heal and are not going to move forward, and they just can't do it. And it's not that they don't want to. They just don't have it in them. They just don't want to completely, or they just don't feel like they could do it. The abuse has been so bad that sometimes they just quit. And, you know, abuse could cause you to really step on the border of mental illness, play around with mental illness that could really come your way if you don't take care of it, and you live in denial and you live in a fantasy. So it really behooves you to do something about your situation. It really does. Now she goes on to talk about a movie which I haven't seen, but now I'm going to see. It's called Out of Africa. Sometimes when we are in the midst of pain and grief, we become short-sighted, like members of the tribe described in the movie of Out of Africa. All right, you're in this situation, you're so sad. You can't fix it. You try to fix it. You're in a state of learned helplessness. And you're like, you know what? This is never going to get better. And I know God tells us to have faith, hope, and love, right? The greatest of these is love. But sometimes you lose hope. You're like, forget it. This is too painful. I've been there. I've done that. But then I've changed my ways, and I've gone back to having hope, because I believe God's word is true and what he says is true. But when you get short-sighted, like the characters in the movie Out of Africa, they can't see beyond their current circumstance. They can't see that this is going to end. Things are going to get better, whether you believe it or not. Then she says in the movie that if you put them in prison, one character said, describing the tribe, they would die. Why? Because they can't grasp the idea that they'll be let out one day. They think it's permanent, so they die. Wow, this reminds me of the book by Viktor Frankl. And he was a doctor, and in World War II, he was a prisoner in the Holocaust. He was in a concentration camp, and he did this whole study on the people that would give up around him. They would die because they had no more hope inside. They had no more strength to keep going, and they would just give up. They had nothing to look forward to, so they thought, and they would give up. And then guess what? Your body gives up. Your body starts shutting down. Your mind starts giving up. You can't lose hope. You have to always keep the hope alive that things are going to change for the better and that it's not permanent. So Frankl always believed that he was going to go back and be reunited with his family, with his wife and his children. And that fortitude is what made that reality happen, and he went on to write books and help so many people. Look him up if you don't know about him. Viktor Frankl. Many of us have so much grief to get through. Sometimes we begin to believe grief or pain is a permanent condition. The pain will stop. The pain will stop, people. That does not mean that the problems will get resolved totally, but the pain will stop. It's not going to hurt as bad as when it first happened. And the pain will get less and less. Doesn't mean you forget, doesn't mean you don't love them. It just means the pain, that crucial pain, will stop. Once felt and released, our feelings will bring us to a better place than where we started. I believe that. Every trial comes to put you in a better place at the end. You're always better off for it. Just remember that as you're, maybe some of you right now are in the hospital with COVID. Just remember, this is not the end. You're still breathing, you're still alive. And God has a purpose with everything that happens to us. And it's always, always an improvement. I could tell you so many stories in my life about that. Feeling our feelings instead of denying or minimizing them is how we heal from our past and move forward into a better future. So, What are the steps? Feeling our feelings, not denying them or minimizing them. Minimizing them is this. You remember stuff from your childhood, from your past, and you say, oh, my parents, they did the best they could given the circumstances. You're minimizing the situation. You're right there excusing what happened to you. You have to come to terms with what happened to you and heal from it, and not sugarcoat it, not make it look like it didn't happen. It happened, okay? And don't be in denial, don't minimize it. Minimizing means you make it like a small thing. It's so small, it really wasn't that bad. Other people have it much worse. Oh, so-and-so's been abused so much more. Look, abuse is abuse, whether it happened one time or a million times. If it still caused trauma for you, if it still caused pain for you, it did those things, and you have to heal from it. End of story. Feeling our feelings is how we let go. It may hurt for a moment, but peace and acceptance are on the other side. It's true about the peace. You start letting go and you start accepting reality, letting God take care of business. God says vengeance is His. So when you've been hurt and you've been treated unfairly at the hands of other people, trust me when I say that God does not lie, and He will, one way or another, this month, this year, next year, 100 years from now, He will deal with it, because He is a God of justice and He does not lie. There is no lying in Him. So you could go to the bank with that one. Here's her prayer at the end. God, help me fully embrace and finish my endings so I may be ready for my new beginnings. Okay? There might be some things that are making you sad right now that you need to end. Whether it's a relationship, a friendship, a job situation. And you need to end it because this has been going on for years. It's not a one-time situation. There are track records how this has been going on for years, and you have proof that it's not going to change. And so my encouragement to you is to embrace the finish and finish your ending. Embrace it, finish your ending, so that then you are ready for your new beginning. How beautiful is that? This was a good reflection. If anyone out there wants to leave any comments, go ahead and leave them now, and we could continue this conversation on the topic of sadness. Also, if your life seems out of balance and you're more sad than you are happy, you hardly ever have any happiness, you're sad all the time, please see a professional. Go see a therapist, a licensed therapist, if you are in a deep depression. I know there were a couple of times, once in my teenage years and once when I gave birth to my second child. Was the only birth I had naturally. I had 4 pregnancies, 3 births, 2 C-sections, 1 natural, and the one I had natural, I suffered from postpartum depression, wasn't able to get help for it, and not good. Definitely something I regret. So get help if you need it. I am a life coach. I help with these situations as well. If you have not been on my website, please do. www.mymomentslc, which stands for lifecoaching.com. All right, we are going to end it there. Let's see what we're going to talk about on Monday, Getting needs met. That's going to be good. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'm glad the storm did not come this way. We are good. Have an awesome day, and I will see you on Monday. Bye.